When you call 911 for an ambulance, you aren't thinking about the driver's qualifications or what the state is doing to make sure the ride to the hospital is safe.
But some people who work in EMS came to the Fox 9 investigators to say this is a big problem that needs attention. Here's what Jeff Ballion uncovered.
You trust them with your life. But in Minnesota, the safety requirements for driving an ambulance aren't nearly as strict as for a trucker who's hauling a semi-trailer of beer.
I'm just sad that after losing my daughter to learn about this.
Dad's a pro blogger. This is his Chicago blog.
What's up?
Yeah.
24-year-old Marina Shaleen was an EMT who wanted to become a doctor.
Okay, check this out.
She was killed last October when the ambulance she was riding in smashed into a stalled truck alongside a metro freeway.
If she were here now and were able to speak, she would say, you know, come on, people, get with it and do something about this.
On average, an ambulance crash happens every 7 days in Minnesota. About 22% of them involve someone getting hurt. One of the worst crashes happened in northern Minnesota in 2005 when an ambulance on a non-emergency transport rear-ended a garbage truck, killing the patient and the driver of the ambulance. The State Patrol determined excessive speed and inattention were factors.
I think the dangers are much worse than they used to be.
This man is an experienced Twin Cities paramedic who asked we disguise his identity. He says the driving skills of some of the young newbies entering the EMS workforce are downright scary.
It's nerve-wracking when you're in the back, and especially if you're getting thrown around because now they have to hit the brakes because they're not sure of something.
Most ambulance crashes happen at intersections, but our insider says some new hires still blow through red lights at high speeds.
They get tunnel vision on the fact that they've got emergency lights, everybody gets out of their way, and they just hit the gas and go.
A Fox 9 investigation finds the state board responsible for regulating ambulance operations has taken little initiative to address what many in the industry say is a growing safety concern.
You know, nationwide we have a shortage of paramedics. Every service is doing what they can to hire, and they're younger and they have less experience.
Many are late teens, early 20s, right out of paramedic school. Some have only a couple of years' experience driving a car, yet they're given responsibility to take control of an ambulance based on training which can vary widely from one company to the next.
Do we really have a read on how much of a problem we have?
We have a very big problem, but unfortunately it's underreported.
Dave McGowan is a safety consultant. He used to be in charge of a large metro ambulance service.
Certainly, we're not decreasing crashes, and if anything, the trend line is still continuing to go up.
The EMS Regulatory Board oversees ambulance services in Minnesota. Under current state law, you don't need a special license to drive an ambulance. You must attend an 8-hour safety class, which includes some actual driving, but it's up to the individual ambulance services to decide how extensive that behind-the-wheel training should be.
We feel here at Hennepin EMS that we've always been kind of ahead of the curve.
New hires at HCMC spend a day going through all kinds of maneuvers at the Minnesota Highway Safety Center in St. Cloud. They repeat the exercise every 3 years. Some smaller ambulance services told us their training involves driving around some cones in a parking lot.
Too many people are getting hurt, and they need to have that type of standard out there to be able to help guide our training.
Commercial truck drivers have more safety regulations than anyone driving an ambulance. First of all, they have to pass a test to get a commercial license. They're limited to driving 11 hours a day to guard against fatigue. A 10-hour rest period between shifts is mandatory.
So at the end of the day, you can be pretty exhausted.
EMS crews can work anywhere from 8 to 12 to 16 hours or longer.
You just feel yourself sitting at a stoplight and all of a sudden you doze off kind of almost in a sense.
There's currently no state or federal requirement that limits their hours or mandates a set rest period.
You know, I was concerned about her getting enough rest. She was constantly telling me how tired she was.
The crash which killed Marina Shaleen is still under investigation. We don't know if her colleague who was driving the ambulance back from a call was tired or what else might have caused her to run into that semi-truck.
Are we monitoring drivers? Are we monitoring to make sure that they're driving these vehicles safely? And if they're not, what remediation steps are we taking into that?
Some companies have voluntarily installed systems which warn drivers when their actions are dangerous, but the state's EMS board does not require them. And unlike the trucking and aviation industries, there's no directive for random drug or alcohol testing of people who work in EMS.
It could be that each individual service may adopt that, but no, not from a government level.
A Fox 9 review of disciplinary actions by the EMS board shows since 2014, at least 4 individuals had their licenses yanked for drug use. One EMT tested positive for meth after a co-worker noticed her pupils were dilated while she was on duty. 3 paramedics were caught stealing pain meds. You have to wonder what they'd find if random testing was required.
I had a unique perspective in that I was both a airline pilot for 22 years as well as being a paramedic for 22 years.
Dick Blanchett writes about ambulance safety. He says the industry could learn a lot from aviation, where every crash is carefully reviewed and the lessons learned are incorporated into training for the whole industry. Minnesota's EMS board doesn't require the reporting of ambulance crashes and doesn't have a system to review what's causing them.
Is there a problem? And if you don't have the data to identify, is there a problem, then it's hard to put a solution on to a problem that you're not sure if it does or does not exist.
We don't know if discrepancies in training or if fatigue or drugs and alcohol played any role in the ambulance crash which killed Marina Chalene.
Marina, I'll always miss you.
But her family hopes this tragedy will bring change.
If there's anything that can be done to prevent this from happening to someone else's child or husband or wife or mother or father, then it should be done. It should be done.
The state EMS regulatory board declined our request for an interview. They did tell us they're looking into one of the issues we highlighted in our investigation, the problem of fatigue among EMS workers. I'm Fox 9 investigator Jeff Ballion.